In my last tip, I started talking about spinning tackle and the advantages it offers over bait casting with different types of lures and different fishing methods. But there's some things to consider when using spinning rods and reels, and I discussed how to keep line twist from occurring and how spinning reels with more ball bearings work better than spinning reels with fewer bearings. Now, okay, here's something else, and that's line capacity. It can really affect the overall performance of your spinning reel, just like it does on bait casting reels. Fill it to the top of the flange, and what's going to happen? You're going to experience line ballooning off that spool like crazy, especially when you're using lightweight lures, simply because they can leave a lot of slack in your line. With heavier lures, you can get away with a fuller spool because there's more tension to prevent the line from looping on the spool. However, it's always best to fill the spool to about 1/8 of an inch to the top of the flange. Here's another way to prevent line twist. When you cast, what you want to do, you close the bail manually with your cranking hand while you're pulling back on the rod tip. Otherwise, when you turn the handle to snap the bail closed, many times you run the risk of flipping a loop of slack line on the spool and reeling over the top of it. That is when the spinning reel and the line nightmare begins. And it happens all the time. So what you want to do, when you cast out, make the cast, close it with your hand, pull back on the rod tip at the same time. I don't always practice that, and when I don't, many times I'll get that loop and I'll reel right over the top of it, and then when I throw again, it just balloons off, and it's like I say, that creates a major nightmare. You know, I hear fishermen say that you can be much more accurate with bait casting than you can with spinning. Well, many anglers I know can do exactly the same thing with a spinning reel that you can do with a bait casting reel, even more. You know, with spinning, you can skip it up under low-hanging tree limbs, boat docks, and not worry about backlashes. Plus, you can drop a lure vertically 3 feet deep or 20 feet deep. Now, the biggest drawback with bait casting reels, well, they're designed like baby winches. You have direct control over the fish with bait casting, whereas you need to use the rod to help control the fish with a spinning reel. Oh, baby. That's a good fish right there. Ooh, yes. Look at him. Oh, I knew he was big. Woo! Boy, they want to go down so bad. Oh, come on, baby. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come up here, Timmy. Ooh. Look at that. Look at that, boys and girls. That Uncle Bill just caught. That a pretty bass. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm gonna turn you loose here. Pretty thing. See you around. Woo, woo. Alfred Hitchcock ain't got nothing on this. Look at that. Woo! Get the birds. Mammy. Catch one in my hand, there's so many of them. Can you believe it? Now when it comes to gear ratios on spinning reels, well, I use most of the times, my choice is a 5.2 to 1. And I believe reels geared with this ratio cover most fishing situations. Now here's something that's really important. Gear ratios, well, they ain't worth a flip if the spool isn't filled to at least 80 to 90% of capacity. When it's not very full, it requires more revolutions of the handle to take up line. What's going on here is your lure speed is going to be slower when you begin your retrieve after a long cast than it'll be as it gets near your rod tip. Bottom line is, no pun intended, your lure speed increases throughout the retrieve even though your cranking action remains the same. This alone can have a major effect on your presentation and can be the deciding factor in success or failure. Got a fish right there. Yes, I do. And he is flying at this boat. Hey, now line size can also be a factor. Example, let's say you're using 10-pound test. The size of the spool or retrieve speed is not going to change much during a cast. However, if you're fishing with 20-pound test or heavier, naturally the diameter is larger, so the spool size may be reduced in half on a long cast. Therefore, the retrieve speed increases as the lure approaches your rod. Come on, get that hook in my hand, youngster. The little fat chunky thing. Yes, you are. Pretty colored up thing. Now when it comes to the drag on a spinning reel, Quantum wrote the book. They've got a tremendous drag system on their reels. I normally set my drag according to the pound tested line and the type of lure I'm fishing. I want to set it that when I set the hook, the drag won't slip. However, if I set the hook at close range, I do want it to slip slightly, simply because the longer the distance between you and the fish, the more the line stretches. Mono, that is. And the rod can absorb the shock without popping your line. Naturally, at close range, and you set the hook hard on lightweight line, you can put a tremendous amount of pressure on the line and you may pop it. Another thing to consider is, as great as monofilament is, it will stretch. So when you make a really long cast, you're not going to have the hook setting power you'll have at a shorter distance. And if you're using 10-pound test versus 17-pound test, the stretch factor increases even more. And if you're using a medium action rod versus a medium heavy rod, you also lose a percentage of your hook setting power due to the fact that the lighter rod absorbs more. Hear that line? They just go right on down with it. One more thing about your drag. If you're using a reel with a 5:2 to 1 gear ratio and a fish is stripping or pulling your drag, don't reel. If you do, what's going to happen is you'll cause line twist. Every revolution of the handle with a 5.2 ratio reel puts 5 twists in your line. 2 turns, it puts 10 twists, and so on. All right, quit acting so silly. Getting me wet. Easy now. There we go. There we're nice. There we're being nice. Yes, we are. See ya. Whew. And he says goodbye. Well, I sure hope you've enjoyed spinning along with us today and possibly learned a little more about these versatile reels. We sure hope so, and we hope to see you again real soon. Until then, catch one for me.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.